Hey, what's happening, YouTubers? As promised, here is my top 10 Marvel Legends comic based of 2020. And actually, I'm going to do a little cheating here. I'm actually going to do a top 15 because there's so many dope comic based figures we got this year that I can't condense it into 10. But these are my honorable mentions. We have Kingpin, Dark Beast, Jean Grey from Age of Apocalypse Wave, and of course the Captain Marvel. Now, here's the thing for my criteria for this list. Re-releases aren't really going to take precedent over the newer figures we got, so that's why Kingpin and Dark Beast, even though it's a new head sculpt, is not on the list. And kicking us off at number 15, we have Pirate Deadpool. I know this is one nobody really cared about or wanted, but me personally, I thought it was pretty cool that they gave us this Deadpool. Admittedly, I'm not really familiar with this character arc in the comics, but I just thought it was something unique and new, and I think the sculpting and detail is pretty dope on here. I love how they gave him the old school guns and the sword. Overall, decent figure, enough to get it in the top 15. And following Deadpool, we have the Age of Apocalypse deluxe figure, Apocalypse. Now, I know what you guys are saying. Pack photos, you said no re-releases or reissues are going to be on this list, but this isn't technically a re-release or reissue. Even though it's using the same Apocalypse Build-A-Figure body mold, I still consider this a unique sculpt, mainly because it's from a different story arc, and I think it was a pretty dope design that Hasbro did. And I love how they gave us two alternate heads for this figure and the cape. I like that the cape is removable, because honestly, when trying to pose it, the cape kind of gets in the way. And coming in at number 13 is another character I don't think a lot of people talk about, though, this year, is the Leader, Hulk's arch nemesis, in my opinion. I know a lot of people are like, this thing they weren't a fan of because the body mold is pretty plain, but me personally, I liked it. They have the classic Leader head sculpt. The orange is okay. It's a little too bright for my taste, but personally, I like this figure enough to put it in my top 15 at number 13. And coming in at number 12, we have XMan from the Age of Apocalypse Wave. This is another one of those cool things where it's like we got to get an X-Man figure. And me personally, I know a lot of people don't really have it. I have the Strife figure and Cable. So to have X-Man to put next to them is actually pretty cool. I think the detail and sculpt is pretty awesome. I thought initially they reused the Havoc jacket, but it looks like it was an entirely new mold. Overall, pretty decent figure. Not good enough to get in the top 10, but good enough to get in the top 15. And coming in at number 11 is Sunfire from the Age of Apocalypse Wave. It's a much-needed upgrade from I think it was a Toy Fair Fans Choice exclusive that Hasbro came out with years ago. I love the translucent body, and one big thing that this has that the old one doesn't is those ugly ball joints are gone. I'm not a fan of those whatsoever. And cracking in the top 10, we have Maverick from the Strong Guy Wave. This one is one of those underrated figures of the year, I think. That's why I have it in my top 10. The detailing and sculpt in this are so dope. If you want to check out a couple photos I took of this, I did like one of those retro X-Men Jim Lee cards from the 90s on my Instagram. Be sure to check it out at Pack Photos. But overall, a dope sculpt and figure. And coming in at number 9 is the Strong Guy Build-A-Figure, one of two Build-A-Figures on this list. I think it was awesome that Hasbro gave us a Strong Guy, and the wave itself I feel like was a pretty strong wave other than I think Shikla and Black Tom Cassidy. But overall, this figure is pretty dope, and I love that we almost have the X Factor team complete. We just now need a actual Wolfsbane. I know we have the Danny Moonstar one, but we need like an actual X Factor Wolfsbane. Coming in at number 8, we have Warpath from the Strong Guy Build-A-Figure Wave. I'm so happy Hasbro got to reuse the Omega Red body mold. I think that thing should be used more often for other characters like Venom. But this figure is dope. I'm so glad we got this. Unfortunately, the Thunderbird figure that came with Storm wasn't as dope as this. But this figure overall is pretty solid and awesome and good enough to get it in the top 10. And coming in at number 7, we have Morbius from the Venom Pool Build-A-Figure Wave. Now, I believe this one was based off the Ron Wagner Midnight Suns Morbius comic that came out in the 90s. Me, personally, I prefer this design over the classic one. I think this is a dope figure. I don't think it gets talked about a lot like the other ones I mentioned, like Leader or Captain Marvel. But I think this figure is pretty dope, and I think it's a pretty underrated figure, but it's still good enough to get it in the top 10. And coming in at number 6, we have Falcon from the Joe Fixit Build-A-Figure wave. Now, this one was a much-needed upgrade from the Toy Biz one. Even though the design, I believe, is based off the TV show Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes, it's still a good upgrade, and I'm glad we finally got a comic-based Falcon figure. They're reusing parts from the Vulture wave, but I think in this case, it worked out pretty well. And cracking in the top 5 at number 5, we have Gwen Stacy from the retro carded SpiderMan wave. I'm so happy that Hasbro finally gave us a Gwen Stacy figure, and they did an amazing job. Now, it came with another head sculpt of MJ, and I know everybody's about MJ and Spider-Man, but me personally, I've always preferred Gwen Stacy over MJ. I'm glad they finally gave us a Gwen Stacy figure, and it's good enough to earn it at the top 5 spot. And number 4 is the Sugar Man Build-A-Figure. Now, some people don't necessarily have this on their list this year. I've seen some YouTubers put it on their list, but not a lot. But the reason why I put this on my list is there's a lot. To me, this Build-A-Figure harkens back to like the Toy Biz Build-A-Figure days. It's such a unique character, and the detailing sculpt they did for this was amazing. I'm glad they got to make this the Build-A-Figure for the Age of Apocalypse wave. And in the top 3, at number 3, we have War Machine, the deluxe figure set. Now, I'm so stoked that we got so many upgrades, much needed ones from the Toy Biz days from Hasbro this year. War Machine was the biggest one in my opinion, along with number 1 that you'll see in a second. I think they knocked it out of the park with this figure. Now, they did use the Iron Man classic body mold for this figure, but overall, I think Hasbro did a good job with making a War Machine figure. And coming in at number 2, we have Spider-Man from the retro carded Spider-Man wave. This figure, for a lot of people, was a huge upgrade in my opinion from Pizza Spidey, which is also a great figure. But in my opinion, they did a good job with adding more articulation to it, so you can get Spidey in all these dope poses. To me, this was a huge upgrade in my opinion because I have the Pizza Spidey, but I prefer this mainly because this more reminds me of the animated series Spider-Man, even though that's not what this is based off of. This is more based off like the Steve Ditko one or the classic Spider-Man. But to me, it looks like the animated series one in my opinion. But my number 1 figure of the year is Kang from the Joe Fixit Build-A-Figure line. Now, you can check tape if you want and check my list last year for top 10 Marvel Legends of 2019. I did say Doom would be on this year unless we got a Kang figure. I'll play the clip. Me personally, I think he's 2019 since that's when I got him. But, spoiler alert, if he's 2020, then that's going to be my number 1 for next year, unless they come out with like a Kang figure or even better Hulk. Now, I'm stoked to get a Kang figure, mainly because Kang is one of my favorite villains, even more so than Thanos. Now, the thing is, with Kang, we had one, but it was originally from Toy Biz. Now, I know people are saying, no, that was part of the Ares Build-A-Figure line. It was technically, but Toy Biz designed that body mold, and they had been using that back in 2005 for their Fantastic Four wave. So, to finally get one in 2020, entirely new sculpt, pinless technology, I think this is one of the dopest figures Hasbro has come out with, and I'm stoked that we finally got a Kang figure, and also I'm stoked that we're potentially going to get Kang in the MCU, because apparently he's supposed to be rumored in the new Ant-Man and Wasp movie. But overall, this Kang figure is amazing. The detail and sculpt, the pinless technology, and the different hand sculpts that we get with it is incredible. I can't wait to start doing stop motion videos with this Kang figure. It got at the top spot because, like I mentioned last year, unless Hasbro comes out with Kang, Doom was originally my number 1. Because Kang is here, Doom is no longer number 1. This thing is a dope figure, and I truly believe we are in the golden age of Hasbro figures, or Marvel Legends figures at least, with all the figures we got this year. Some notable ones you saw that might not be on this list is, of course, the re-release of Rogue, Gambit, and I didn't put Red Hulk here for a reason. There wasn't enough changes in that figure, in my opinion, to put it on the list because it was basically using the same Hulk body mold. And here's my spoiler for 2021. If they come out with a Maestro figure using that body mold, that will be my number 1 figure of 2021. Other than that, here's my list, YouTubers. Let me know in the comments below what you think. Who's in your top 10 for comic-based figures? And be sure to check out my Instagram at Pack Photos. Peace.